Ever since that Ultra Boost line veered into the lifestyle direction, Adidas has struggled to find a foothold in the daily trainer segment. Now, over the past year, they have introduced the Adizero SL, which is one of my favorite daily training shoes. It's firmer, it's snappier, it's lightweight, but it doesn't satisfy what the majority of this running shoe market is looking for right now, which is a more cushioned, plush, rockered training experience. Compared to the Nova Blast, compared to the Saucony Triumph, the shoe is severely lacking in that comfort and cushion department. Adidas also has the Boston 12, going more to that fast, high mileage training, something that's a bit more for advanced runners who are going to spend $40 more on a pair of shoes, and it has these glass fiber energy rods. So with that, Adidas has cooked up a new shoe for us called the Supernova Rise. This is in between the Adizero SL and Boston 12, $140 price point. It's using a new foam. It's got a slight bit of a rocker up front here, and it looks like it's going to be a promising entry into the daily training market segment. So in this video, I'm going to break down everything we know about this new Supernova Rise, including the specs, the new midsole foam, and who it's going to be best for. Let's get into it. Before we dive into the Supernova Rise, I want to tell you about the Running Shoe Matcher tool. So if you're looking for a new shoe and you haven't checked this tool out yet, go to runningshoematcher.com. This is a really cool tool I built that matches you with the best shoes for you based on your goals and preferences. So you can go in there, answer 5 questions about what kind of shoe you're looking for, whether you want a tempo shoe, a daily trainer, or a race day shoe, whether you like your shoes soft or firm, and we will match you with the best shoe for you. So it's live right now and it's free. You can find it at runningshoematcher.com. I'll also put the link in the description below. All right, let's get into it. The Supernova Rise is the newest daily trainer from the Adidas brand. Like I mentioned in that intro, they have the Adizero SL as that first entry into their Adizero line, which is their faster training series of shoes. And then they have the Boston as this everyday or tempo running option that's a little bit more amped up. And on the lifestyle side, they have the Ultra Boost Light, and then they have a whole slew of entry-level options, which are $110 or below $100, like the Duramo SL and the Duramo Speed. This Supernova Rise is filling a very important gap in the Adidas lineup, and the formula here looks very promising. So it's coming in at 9.8 ounces. We know it has a 10mm drop, and it has a brand new foam called Dreamstrike Plus. Now, they're describing this Dreamstrike Plus foam as similar to Lightstrike Pro, except denser and using 20% bio-based ingredients. Now, on this channel, we don't dive too much into the eco-friendly greenwashing stuff that these brands are trying to throw out there, but the denser than the Lightstrike Pro part is really interesting. So if you look at this Boston 12 here, you can see that the Lightstrike Pro in this latest formulation is going to be pretty soft. I can get my finger pretty deep in there. So that is a pretty interesting development. Now, Lightstrike Pro isn't known as the softest foam, especially in that Adios Pro series, but in the Boston 12, they did soften it up a little bit, and it looks like this Dreamstrike Plus, even though it's denser, is probably going to provide a little bit more of a plush ride experience than we've seen from Adidas, at least since those Ultra Boost days. Now, at a price point of $140, this is going to go up against shoes like the Pegasus, the Saucony Ride, the Nova Blast, the Cumulus, and a few other of those mainstream daily trainers, which typically come in at that $130 to $140 price point. So to stand out, the Ride here has got to be absolutely phenomenal, which of course we'll only know once we get this on foot. All right, guys, now digging into the midsole a little bit more here on the Supernova Rise. So what we do know right now, what we have confirmed, is that the drop is going to be 10mm. From the picture here, it looks like that heel stack is going to be around 34mm, and the forefoot stack is going to be about 24. If just doing the math on the 10mm drop, that's what it would work out to. I do think it's going to be low to mid 30s, just based on the pictures and my own experience with these daily trainer type shoes. One interesting thing is that the shoe does have plastic support rods on the bottom. Now, it's not going to be a plated shoe in the sense of the Boston 12 with these glass fiber energy rods. It's going to be more like we see in the Adios 8, using those plastic support rods on the bottom to give the shoe less flexibility, a bit more support and structure. Or even another great example of a recent shoe that just got announced that does this is the Cloud Eclipse, which is using a plastic speedboard on the bottom of that platform there, which again is to add some more stability and structure, not necessarily for speed. With a weight of 9.8 ounces and with the Boston 12 already in the Adidas lineup, I do not believe this is going to be designed as a fast shoe. This is going to be more of that comfort-oriented, high-mileage trainer shoe to chew up a bunch of miles, get you running in comfort. So from the picture here, we can see the Dreamstrike Plus is right there on the midsole. There's that little sliver of foam that's a different color that has that printed there, which is making me wonder if we're seeing some type of carrier foam situation. So if we look at the Adizero SL here, the whole whole entire midsole is Light Strike, except in the forefoot here, we got a little puck of this Light Strike Pro. So the carrier in this case is this EVA based Light Strike. Now, it's possible we're gonna see a similar situation, either Light Strike 2.0 or potentially just a standard EVA. I'm not sure. It could be entirely a Dreamstrike Plus, and that different color foam there is just a visual effect, but we'll have to see once more details come out. So it does look like this is a bit more of a rockered shoe than we're seeing the Audi Zero SL. I would put it closer to what we see in the Boston 12 with this nice little toe spring up front. And the last thing I want to mention here, it's giving me a lot of Hoka vibes, like that Hoka hiking boot with that rear overhang. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of that is supposed to be. I believe when Hoka first did it, they said it was for added support and stability around landings. So potentially they want to make this a little bit more of a stable shoe, especially because if you see the Audi Zero SL here on the heel area, it just completely cuts off on the back. You're not going to get a bunch more added stability in this shoe. So the upper is an engineered mesh. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a looser, more forgiving fit than we're seeing in the Audi Zero SL and even the Boston 12 and some of these other shoes that Adidas has come out with recently in the training segment. It looks almost like a knit upper that we're seeing in the Supernova Rise, which means it's going to be more comfortable. Again, the whole theory of this shoe seems to be comfort with a little dose of speed and daily ability in there. It's not going to be a super fast shoe, but overall it looks like a nice, comfy package. Last thing to mention here is they do say that the last of the shoe has a contour design for men's feet. Now, I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean. I don't think they've been designing their other shoes specifically for women's feet. I gotta take this hoodie off. It's getting hot. As I was saying, I'm not exactly sure what that means given they're not designing their other shoes specifically for women. Maybe this one is designed specifically for men, but what I did want to highlight here is if you take a look at this picture I put together of the Audi Zero SL on the left and the Supernova Rise on the right, it does look like we're getting a bit more of space in the toe box here. So I don't know if they're going down that Topo Ultra route of making this an anatomical toe box or just a wider fit in general, but I would absolutely love that because both the Audi Zero SL and the Takumi Sen are super snug on foot. So if they're gonna go into that direction, I think that's a great move, especially given the majority of runners who are gonna be buying this more relaxed, everyday training type of shoe aren't gonna have super narrow feet. And to expand their market shares, especially if they wanna make this a shoe with wider appeal, they should have a bit of a more generous fit here. In terms of the outsole, we're seeing standard Adidas rubber, same thing that we have on the Audi Zero SL here. It's not going to be that continental rubber like we have on the Boston 12. I've had great experience with the Adidas standard rubber. It's probably better than the Saucony standard rubber and right up there with the Nike standard road rubber that we see on the Pegasus. I've put a ton of miles on the Audi Zero SL here in the wet, in the rain, and I haven't had any issues with slipping around. It is a really solid rubber, and I know that the continental rubber probably gives you a bit more tackiness and grip, but there's going to be no issues on the Supernova Rise here in the wet, especially if they're using the same rubber that we see on the Audi Zero SL. This looks like it's going to be a fairly durable shoe as there are no areas of exposed foam on the bottom, which is great to see. The entire forefoot's covered with rubber, the entire rear is covered with rubber. In the midfoot, you see a bit of plastic application there, it seems from the photo, and then you can also see into those plastic support rods, which is interesting, right? I don't know if you're going to be running on gravel roads or something, if you're just going to be hearing every time you're running along because those rocks are going to be clinking into that plastic support piece. But it is good to know that at least the foam is going to be more protected than it would be in a different type of shoe. And in terms of that rubber application, I also love to see that the lateral heel area, so the outside back here, is very well covered, similar to the Audi Zero SL. This one is almost 300 miles, and you can see that it's held up extremely well here. I'm not getting any degradation of the foam just because the application of this guy is super solid. So it looks to have a similar application here in the Supernova Rise, which means it's going to be great to get you 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 miles, depending on how light you are, what your foot strike pattern is, and how far you want to take the shoe. So in terms of who this is going to be best for, this is a neutral daily trainer with a bit of support in there. It looks like it's going to be a solid option if you want a little bit more stability. Maybe it's even a mild stability type of trainer. I like that they have that little bit of a rocker up front. So I think if you've gotten along well with shoes like the Saucony Endorphin Shift or even the Saucony Ride, and you want something a bit more comfortable, a bit softer than those shoes, maybe you found the Nova Blast and the Cumulus a little too soft and bouncy for you, I think this Dreamstrike Plus phone is going to be serving up a really comfortable, slightly bouncy ride. Now we have to get it on foot to see. These are my hunches just based on the information we have. What I can say with confidence is that this is a highly competitive segment, and Adidas has been on a tear recently and they know what they're doing. So I'm very optimistic that this shoe won't be a complete flop. All right, guys, so there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the new Supernova Rise. That's everything we know so far. If you liked the video, give it a like. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.